Hey everybody, it is great to see you again for another episode of Saab Talk Live. We are the internet's only semi-weekly, almost every week, live stream with stories for the Saab community about members of the Saab community, and so glad that you're here. Tonight we're going to be talking to a guy out in Phoenix, Arizona who has done some really wonderful things with the Saab 9.5. This thing puts out about 500 horsepower, maybe more. And he's gone through it top to bottom, front to rear. And so we're going to meet Jonathan Pavtis and learn more about his car in just a moment. Want to get started, though, with something that, gosh, a lot of guys in the Saab world have been talking about. And that is this 246-mile 1987 Saab Turbo that sold for how much? 145, 46,000 on Bring a Trailer. Wow, that is an amazing amount of money. But then again, it's really kind of an amazing car. I mean, that old with only 246 miles on it, it's pretty spectacular. And it was fun to watch the auction and all of the comments come through. The fact that they did such a great job marketing this car didn't hurt. I mean, look at the quality of this video. It's beautiful, isn't it? So what do we know about the owner? Not much. I'd love to talk to this person. If you know who he is and can track him down, please get in touch with me because I'd like to know his intentions for the car. And that, really, that's one of the things that I found kind of interesting in the discussion on BAT is a lot of people, freaked out about the price, of course, $145,000 for this car. But look at that. Right there, it had 232 miles from new. Currently had, I think, 247 they were advertising. And, this comment on the auction, I think, captured my thinking pretty well. Problem with this car, what do you do with it? You can't drive it and enjoy it. What's the point? So cool to see it well preserved, but no thanks. Well, yeah, it was kind of how I felt. If I had that car, what would I do with it? I've got a 94 900 Ruby, or Ruby colored, not a true Ruby edition, but Ruby colored with about 100,000 miles on it. And I don't like to drive it too much just because trying to keep it the way it is. But, then I found some comments from the buyer. And so here he is saying, yeah, wife gave her permission to bid up to 80,000. Blew through that. Hope he's still married. I think he is, because look what he says here. I'm going to drive it every anniversary with my wife. Why is that? It was my first car, and I took my wife on our first date in it. So there you go. A little bit of sentimentality is what caused him to put that much money into this beautiful 1987 Saab 900. So once again, if you know who the buyer is, and buyer, if you're watching, please reach out, get in touch with me, because I'd love to talk to you and learn more about your car and what you're going to do with that thing. But let's now get back to the real world. And, well, not really the real world, because this is a 2004 or 2004-5 9.5 that is living an entirely new life in the hands of the guy we're going to meet today. And that is Jonathan Pavtis from all the way out in Phoenix, Arizona. Jonathan, good to see you. Oh, my fault. My bad. Let me turn your microphone back on. My fault. Got so busy doing other things. Cut your mic. Now you're with us. There you go.
You hear me a little better now?
Yeah, it's amazing. Pushing that button makes all the difference, doesn't it? Hey, so great work on this car. We're going to learn all about it, but this is your first car, right? This is right out of high school. This is your car. Tell me more about that.
Yep. Bought it back in 2011. We actually thought we were searching on Craigslist for a new car. Had some money saved up, working part-time jobs, this and that. Actually looking for a BMW 3 Series. Kind of ran across this car on Craigslist. Liked what the article said. The price looked good. I'm like, we'll go check it out. We get there, drive it around a little bit, and turns out we end up liking it. At the time, my best friend's dad was a Saab technician, or owns his own shop in Richmond, Virginia, still, Saab Tech LLC. So we took it there. said, hey, can you kind of run through and give it the once over, see what you think about it. We're kind of interested in the car. And he pops the hood and goes, hold on, I'll be right back. Goes into his office, comes back out with a pretty big stack of paperwork. Goes, well, some of this writing under the hood is all my writing. I've done all the work on this car since it was at the dealership, and he still brought it to me. The original owner brought it to me when after the dealership closed, and here's all the records for it. So it was kind of a too good to be true thing. Good price, low miles, knew all the history about it, knew who worked on it. So I guess it was kind of fate. It was meant to be.
Meant to be. So this car started out looking quite a bit different. So here it is today. Man, the stance on that is great. The color is great. Love just everything you've done with the car. But this is where it started, huh?
Yeah, more or less. It started out as a steel gray 2004 Arc. In the back part of the photo there, you can see the original wheels. They were, I don't know, they've been plasti dipped and spray painted dozens of times. So I don't know if that was plasti dip or spray paint at that time, but the original wheels were just the double wide style. Gosh, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how many times they were resprayed or not, but they started out silver when we first bought the car, much like the car.
Yeah.
Steel gray.
Now explain to people who don't know, what is an ARC and how is it different than what you have today?
So the Arc is the mid-level trim on the 9.5. Most of the 9.5s, the Dames get a little weird. But trim levels being linear is kind of your base model. Arc is your medium to heavier spec package. And your Aero is your sporty and usually more fully loaded package. So this started out as like a middle of the road, maybe medium high spec car. Had like ventilated seats, the non-aero seats, ventilated seats, like the Harman Kardon sound system, but it didn't have anything like the Xeon lights or nav or anything like that. So all that got added extra. So like the Xeon lights are all retrofitted, all the aero interior. That was all stuff that I ended up doing.
Man, it looks great. So let's take a little walk around the car. Now, I want to fess up on something here. You're a good buddy out there in Phoenix with Auto Autopsies, Jacob and Pretzman, and so he has done a profile of your car on his Auto Autopsy channel. And Jacob, I just ripped you off, buddy. I stole a bunch of video out of that, so that's what we're going to use tonight. I hope you're not too upset about that because you just got to go check out. I think Jacob's got one of the best Saab channels out there. So Auto Autopsy, that's the name of his channel. Go check it out. You're going to find a lot of interesting things, including a profile of your car. So walk us through what's happening under the hood here.
So I guess first things straight off the bat. It has a rather large turbo. It's a 54 millimeter Garrett turbo. That's one of their new G30 660 lines. The exhaust manifold and everything was built. It's part of Krona's kit. They don't really operate too much in Saabs anymore. They're kind of transitioning out of it. But when they were kind of full swing, this was the car that the kit was prototyped on. And Matty Prince out of Krona had this car for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. Kind of helped him spec the turbo out, and we pieced together the kit. His goal, he achieved his goal. It was a drop-in kit. So his plan was to make a manifold turbo, supply all the lines, the fan shroud, everything. So it was 100% drop-in. Didn't have to do any modification yourself. If you could turn a wrench, you could put this turbo kit on, and he achieved it with flying colors.
Now, with you've done a lot of other mods we're going to talk about, but just that turbo kit alone, what is it going to bring my my 9.3 and 9.5 up to?
Horsepower-wise, it should be about, I think we're advertising about 500 horsepower. I mean, it's granted this kit doesn't come with any of the supporting mods. So, like, if you do have a 9.5, you will absolutely need forged pistons, an intercooler, um, radiator, fuel pump. I don't remember if it came with injectors or not, but you would need injectors too. So it's a turnkey kit as far as if your car is ready for the horsepower, then it's good for it. So it comes with, like I said, the exhaust, the manifold, the turbo, and everything associated with those things.
I see a message there from Chicago UI saying, "Where'd you get the hood vents?" Hey, good eye on that. And let's look a closer look at those hood vents. Lots of people ask you about them. What's the story on
Mm-hmm.
those?
So, like you said, I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is, if anyone doesn't know, is very, very hot. Um, so originally I was from Richmond, Virginia. I moved out to Phoenix, and the car did not like the heat. It wasn't overheating, but my intake temperatures were through the roof. The hood got so hot that you couldn't even touch it. I mean,
Hmm.
I was afraid it was going to melt the wrap, boil the paint. So um, I had already had the exhaust wrapped and insulated and the whole 9 yards. Still wasn't helping. So um, the long backstory of it is since the turbo is top mounted, it's pressed up against the hood, and there was nowhere for the hot air to escape.
Hmm.
It's just kind of crammed in the engine bay. So logical step is make somewhere for the air to escape.
Right.
So essentially, what I did is you can buy universal kits online. I say kits; they're a piece of sheet metal, um, just a flat piece. They laser cut the design and ship it to you, and you can fold it out and the louvers, and comes in hundreds of designs. The front one is actually an Evo 9, 10, or sorry, Evo 8, Evo 9 style design, where it's kind of a half moon. And the side ones, which I did just to kind of complete the look, um, I'm sure they help, but the main purpose of it was to do the front one. The side ones were just some universal one that the company had. I said there's dozens of companies that make these vents. They're just laser cut aluminum. So we cut the hole in the hood on the top side, or through the hood, and we would take the template of the vent and we panel bonded it to the bottom of the hood, sealed it up nice, repainted the whole thing, flipped all the vents up, and then, well, first we used a little bit of body filler just to smooth out the transition, because there was a
Hmm.
hard transition from where the hood and the vent were. So we used that Bondo body filler to kind of smooth out the gap and put wrap back on and painted them. Just folded them up, and there's a retaining ring that sits in there so they all stay nice and even, the angle of them. But yeah, I mean, it was all done. Actually, we didn't even do it in the garage. Back in Virginia, I had a pop up carport that we did all of our body work in, and sanding and filling and resanding and more filling and
Nice.
primer, and you know how it works.
Yeah, I do. You just do what you got to do with what you've got. So the car, beautiful blue right now. You just mentioned the wrap. That's kind of surprising. It looks fantastic. I saw it out at SOC, and man, you had to look really close to tell that was a wrap. You did a good job because you did that yourself, right?
Yeah, well, sort of. My fiance's brother owns a wrap shop, or manages a wrap shop in Richmond. So it was kind of one of those, hey, I want to wrap my car. Can you help me out? Case of beer, buy the materials, and we knocked it out. So I did a lot of the panels. The one issue is the bumpers are really hard to do in one piece, so
Hmm.
I left that part up to the professional. But other than that, I mean, it's like putting a big sticker on your car. If you take your time and work at it, it turns out pretty well.
And I've got your license plate up here because this is also how people find you on Insta. So if you want to go follow the build on Instagram, right there is how you find him. Dat Saab is how you get that done. So let's go back under the
There's
hood.
an underscore
Oh, good point. Thank you.
underscore in between. So DAT underscore SAAB.
Good job. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, so you've got a lot of stuff going on in this car, including something hiding underneath this stick shift. Is a six-speed standard on the 9.5?
The 6 speed was never available, automatic or manual, on a 9.5.
Oh, so never available at, oh, interesting. So this is a complete custom
Never available.
job. And so here's the
Mhm.
transmission. And not only is it a 6 speed, what else is special about this transmission?
So like you said, it is a six-speed. It's based off, but not based off of it. Is an F40, which for people who know Saab transmissions, that's the same transmission that's in the newer Saab 9.3s, like the sports sedans, the 2.0s and the 2.8s. But the thing that is special about this one is it has a bell housing from the factory that is able to be bolted up to the older 2.3 and 2.0 blocks, the B235 and 205. Um, the reason why that makes this one specifically special is that the car that the engine came off of was a 2005 Saab 9.3 2.2 turbo diesel.
Diesel.
So that car was only available in Europe for 1 year. It was kind of a they had some diesel engines left over. They had already switched to the new transmission, but they haven't switched over to the new diesel engine. So that 2.2 had the old bell housing style, which coincidentally lined up with the B235 2.3 liter.
And you went
So
to
they
the
ran
diesel
that for
trans because you were eating other transmissions, right? All that torque. So the diesels were designed to take the extra torque, is my guess, right?
the six-speed box in general is better. It's stronger unit. Um, the the design of it, you have two output shafts, and the casing itself is a lot more just a lot more support in it. But yeah, to answer your question, I went through. So I was pulling out my fourth transmission, my fourth five-speed that I just grenaded. Um, and I was either so my thought process was either to build the five-speed up or you know fabricate mounts and put a six-speed in it.
Boom. Problem solved. So here's the 6 speed in the car, and it's able to stand up to all that horsepower. Horsepower means a bigger clutch, or at least a stiffer clutch. What'd you do here?
So Saab Performance Catalog out of Colorado, GH Works. Garrett is the gentleman who runs both of those companies. He makes great performance Saab stuff. He started a line of clutches, which you is shown on the screen here. Um, with the transmission swap, switching to the six-speed, the splines are actually different. So he had to work a little bit of magic for me. The clutch shown here is a standard 9.5 clutch. It's behind the clutch. It's just your run-of-the-mill OEM flywheel. So I had it lightened a little bit. I didn't want to go with an aluminum flywheel. The lightening the OEM flywheel is much cheaper. But back to the clutch, it is a 9.5 clutch and a 9.5 pressure plate, but it has a 9.3 center spline to it.
Hmm.
So that allowed everything to work together. I could use the 9.3 spline on the F40 and all the 9.5 stuff, so I didn't have to worry about changing like throw out bearings and worry about like the slave cylinder travel, anything like that. So we got around
Oh,
all of that with just simply getting a custom clutch made.
Chicago's asking, do the all F40s fit?
No, they do not. So, like I said earlier, the only the ones from the diesel 9.3 from that year fit. I think there was a couple other like a Zuzus maybe or maybe some Opals, but I know for coming from a Saab, only that one fits. Um, if you've ever looked at a 2.8 or one of the new Ecotech 2.0 the starter's on the front side of the engine, so the bell housing is nowhere near as close. For those who don't know, the 9.5 starter's on the back side, the rear. So the bell housing is not even close to fitting.
So you've got internals that are all pumped as well. These look like Wasner forged pistons. Tell me more about why you needed these and what they do for you.
For those who don't know, any sort of power in the 9.5 and the pistons just start to fall apart. there's kind of a soft line of about, I think it's about 380, 400 horsepower. Some people have had more. Some people have pushed the stock pistons farther, but around that range, they really just kind of start to fall apart. They start cracking. Um, they have a slight cracking issue just from the factory. I mean, I've had a couple 9.5s before, and they just, a stock 9.5 and the pistons just kind of started to fall apart. The ring, where the ring seats and the piston cracked. So, then I built the motor originally for a 19T and needed to bump it up from the stock pistons. Even with a 19T, you really need forged pistons. So that's I said that picture was from when I originally built the motor, put Wasner pistons in and balanced the crankshaft and used the original crankshaft and the original rods, original block, and held up pretty well.
So have you dynoed the car?
I have not. I know when we talked in SOC, I was supposed to take it the following week to a dyno. The plans kind of fell through. I actually shredded both of my axles on the way up to SOC.
Oh, nice.
And the dyno plans thankfully kind of fell through. So I was able to drive broken axles back to Phoenix, which is about a 1,300-mile drive.
Lovely.
I will, and probably later once it gets a little cooler out in Phoenix, it's still about 113 degrees. I do plan on getting to put on the dyno probably in the fall, kind of see where it makes. We're going back through the tune just to make sure everything's 100% buttoned up.
So you said you shredded the axle, I mean the axle boots.
Yeah, the axle boots, they made it to about Colorado before one of them started clicking.
Oh, nice.
So,
Colorado. Snail Bratton jumping in here saying we also installed an LSD in the transmission. That's cool. With all that power, you definitely are going to need that, right? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the power and everything, and when you were in Jacob's video, his profile of your car, there was one little section here that I pulled out that I want people to see, and make sure you got the sound up for this, guys, because this is kind of fun. So they're out on the open road. Let's watch what happens when you put your foot down.
Coming forward is not an exaggeration when he comes off the gas, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
you don't realize how into the seat you are until it stops.
Yeah, how about that? That's pretty cool. So, how's this car to drive? Is it a handful? Is it I know you got stiff polyurethane bushings everywhere. Is it going to jar my teeth out? I'm an old man, I kind of like them soft and mushy.
It lets you know that it's on. I'll put it like that. It's not as obnoxious as some cars I've been in. The dashboard does rattle a little bit, like you said. I have polyurethane bushings all the way around. I removed the balancer shafts from the engine, so at idle, it's a bit of a bear. Dashboard rattles. I think the sunroof rattles a little bit too. But anyway, what I'm getting to is when you actually get moving, anything above like 2,000 RPM, the engine, I averaged internally, so the engine kind of finds its home. And like I said, I drove it 2,600 miles to South Dakota this year for SOC. It wasn't that bad of a ride, honestly.
Nice.
It's not too loud when you're just cruising down the highway. It has all the creature comforts, air conditioning, vented seats. Like I said, it's the suspension is a little stiff, but I have K-Sport coilovers on there. I have them pretty well tuned in. They ride pretty dang close to like an aero suspension. So it's comfy.
Oh, that's great.
Sporty but comfy.
Man, I love what you've done with the car. It looks great. You made it all that way, so obviously it seems to be pretty reliable. Congratulations. That's a great build and a great example of just how flexible and modifiable these cars are. So I think that's going to be the future of where our brand goes. Guys are snagging these cars while they can and having fun with them. I think that's cool. What's next?
Yeah,
What's
it's
your next
definitely.
project?
Next project is actually gonna do a little bit with a BMW. I got a 1997 BMW 540. So for
Uh-huh.
those who don't know, it's a V8 rear-wheel drive. I actually got one with a six-speed manual transmission. So it's going to be a fun. I'm excited to switch up platforms a little. Obviously, Saab's front-wheel drive. I've owned automatic ones and manual ones. See Chicago. That's an E39. So it's one of the more older styles.
Mm-hmm. One of the better styles, actually, I think.
Oh, actually, I think you're talking about E85. Yeah, it's on E85 ethanol. The 95 is. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the BMW. Um,
Yeah, how
but
about
yeah,
that?
so
Does it run on, how's it run on alcohol? It runs okay?
yeah, it runs great. Actually, that's the secret sauce to make a lot of horsepower on a turbo car. It runs on pump gas too. I don't have to retune it or change the computer at all. It's just not specifically tuned for pump gas. So what that means is you put 91 or 93, whatever you can find in it, and you
Mm-hmm.
put just enough in to get you to the E85 station.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. Hey, man, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Anything you want to leave people with? Any advice? Well, let me ask this question. Love to ask this. What's the one thing you wish you hadn't done?
Wish I hadn't done. That's a tough one. Um, I'm not directly related to the 9.5, but I had a 1988 Saab 900 Turbo 5-speed, and boy, do I wish I never got rid of that. I got rid of it before I moved. It just wasn't. It didn't really make the cut to move all the way across the country with.
Yeah.
Actually, had over 460,000 miles on it,
Wow.
and I had to let it go. I sold it to a friend. It has a great home now. It's still being driven. Actually, has an airflow kit and a new paint job. But that's one thing I really wish I hadn't sold it.
Well, I've seen you working on helping Jacob do his 900 auto to manual flip, so I know you still have your hands in those old cars, and all of us old classic guys. I'm glad we appreciate the respect you give those cars. How's that? We'll just leave it there. Hey, Jonathan, thanks very much.
Yeah. Other than that, I just wanted to say, go check out Auto Autopsy's video. Jacob gives great content.
Yes, he does.
We've been working, oh my goodness, for the past 2 months trying to get his 900 manual swapping it over from an automatic, and I think we might be putting in the last video this weekend. I think it's probably next week or so. Might get to see the final upload, and might get to see it drive.
Oh, that'd be great.
So,
Well, hope you have good success on that. And again, that's Auto Autopsy is the name of the channel over on YouTube. And it's something I watch just about every time a new video goes up. I'm usually one of the first to see it. All right, fellas. Hey, thanks very much. Appreciate you being with us today, Jonathan.
all right, thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. And thank you to our sponsor, ToughGuard DIY. In case you don't know, it is a nanoresin coating that you can put on your car that means you don't have to wax it again for 5 years. It really is a very effective alternative to ceramic coating your car. And here's a quick story for you. I put SpeedGuard, the sister product to ToughGuard, on my Saab because my Saab was ceramic coated before I knew about ToughGuard. Anyway, the bottom line here is, even with just SpeedGuard on the windshield, we drove through a cloud of bugs, and my windshield was an absolute mess. Everybody on the highway got plastered in all these bugs. We pulled into the nearest filling station to clean off. Everybody was scrubbing their windshields. Mine was the easiest. Just putting SpeedGuard alone on the glass made it so much easier to clean, and that, to me, is really the benefit of the ToughGuard family of products. ToughGuard DIY is available at toughguarddiy.com. It's priced at $199, back to the regular price, but you Saab guys, if you use the promo code Saab, the price drops to $99. So go to toughguarddiy.com. Enter the promo code Saab and the price drops to $99 for ToughGuard, and you can also pick up SpeedGuard there. Got to run. We'll see you next time around. Thanks for hanging out with us. Saab on.